It's the wee hours of the morning of Friday, and I have to say that looking upon the news and reading about Jordan Neely has me livid. I am beyond livid. I am boiling. And it is hard. It is hard to sometimes read the media and see what's happening out there. I am located in New York City, and I have been a passenger of subways, and there is a reason that I no longer go on it. I have been fortunate that I'm in a situation where I'm privileged enough that I decide that I'm not ever going to do it again, because I realize that once you're in a certain threshold in terms of salary and what you make, nobody really cares. And that's sort of the mentality that exists. So I'm engaging in behaviors that ensures that I am protected. What happened to Jordan Neely, where he was on the train, a mentally ill man? We're in the month of May, the month of mental health illness, and we're focusing on how it is that we can help people. A decision was made by allegedly a former Marine. We don't know all of the facts. And the fact is, the social media does not give us all of the information. So from what we're hearing here and there, we know that a white man who's allegedly a former Marine chokeholds a black man who's mentally ill. A mentally ill man who's upset that he didn't have food to eat. I'll tell you, it's a normal thing in New York City subways. There are commoners, as we call them, people who are walking up and down, and when you see them, you groan because you see them every single day begging for money. And you get annoyed and you see these stern expressions, because when you look at New Yorkers, you're like, wow, they got attitude. No, because we are a society, even pre-pandemic, where we're overworked, overloaded, and yes, even somebody who has a job, who has a good level of living, are still dealing with issues of discrimination. And then we go home on a train where we have to constantly be on alert and be aware of our protection and safety. Let's not talk about how we pay for what we get, right? We pay $3.75. Is that how much it is now? For your trip to go to work every day and spend hours jumping from train to train. So you're not always in the best of moods. You're not always well rested or centered as well. So here we have this young man who comes into the train who's upset because he doesn't have food. You have passengers who watch another person who puts him in a chokehold that we know causes problems, that we've seen have killed people. And this person makes this decision to do that. There's nothing from what I've been reading so far that indicates that this individual who had 42 prior arrests and assault convictions ever touched anyone. We have no information that he had a gun or a knife, but we do see that, the human body, the hands, has the potential to kill, because this individual chokehold him. And from a video that I did see, which I won't even put here because you don't need to be exposed to that, someone said you need to stop or you will kill him, and it still didn't matter. So where is the human element here? Where is the ability of compassion? Where is your feeling for another human being? Where is it? I was going to the gym and I was walking up the stairs, and apparently I was too slow for the person behind me. Young woman looks at me, but I was with my husband, and she says to me, I would step on your ass. And I'm livid because I don't appreciate anybody talking to me like that. And I'm like, did you hear that? And I'm ready to fight, because I got my little gangster personality when I'm ready. Like, I'm the kind of girl, like, I'm ready. You want to bring it? Let's bring it. But when I thought about it, it was obvious to me that this person wasn't clear in her mind. This person looked overwhelmed, looked like there were mental issues. It didn't even look like she had a home. My husband said most likely she's homeless. And I thought about it like we're on the second floor of where my gym is. And if we did get in a fight and I pushed her, What if she had fell and I injured her and she died? And I had to think about all those things because I never in my life thought going to the gym that somebody would come and speak to me anyhow or would provoke me into a fight, because I'm just not that type of person. And this is something that I had to think about, and I said, you know what? It's not worth it. This person has so many things on her and her spirit is heavy, and I need to learn to be able to keep my calm and my cool in spite of it. So I have to think like that, and I have to watch and assess this quick. Mental illness is a problem that is plaguing us. Even in my gym, I was looking to get a bottle of water. There's a guy in front of me. I'm not even close to him. I'm just standing up while he's making his decision. He looks at me. He's like, why are you standing behind me? And I look at him like, I'm looking for water. He's like, you could get in trouble. You could get a ticket from those cameras, pointing to the cameras above the gym. And I look at him and said, are you okay? And he looks at me. He's like, no, I'm fine. I said, I'm just making sure if you're okay. Now, there are certain defense mechanisms that I put in place to make sure that I know that I'm not a weak person. That I'm a person, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to address it. But he still had the frame of mind to know, okay, this person's putting me in check. But he wasn't right in the mind. And when he left, the guys were like, what did you say to him? He's crazy. And they all started laughing. And it's like, but we got your back. But at the end of the day, I said to those guys, listen, if you look at him, he's clearly not straight in his head. And I have a son. And when I look at somebody who is ill, I think about my child. And if anything were to happen to him or he goes off, I would want somebody to be there to protect him. Right? Not just as a female, not just as a woman, but thinking about your children. And so the guys look at me. I said, that's somebody's child. And you think mental illness is easy to deal with? It is not. When somebody's mentally ill, you can't control them or hold them down. You have to almost let them be. It's a very, very difficult thing. Now, there are so many things that have to be addressed within this case and what has happened. But the mere fact that someone didn't touch you or interfere with you and you made a decision to hold them down, and then you had three people holding on this young man who was sick. See, that's the thing though. It's like it becomes a different situation and a different scenario, right? If he was wielding a gun, he had a knife, then it shifts the conversation, right? Again, race may have played a factor, but you who made that decision to hold him down and not release him, you did a chokehold. There's no way that you don't understand the consequences of what that can do to another person. And my husband and I have spoken, and he's a big guy, right? And he has the capacity to protect us and the family. And he has told me that he hit someone in the head and they fell. And he said after that he realized that he could really hurt someone. So what we're left with in this scenario is obviously situations where people are going to protest and be unhappy, and they have every right to be, because something of this should not be happening in our subway systems. But there is trauma. Okay, I wasn't there and I feel traumatized and upset about it. There is also people in that train who has to deal with that. And let me tell you, the things that are being said is so... I don't even know if people are thinking about what they're saying. Apparently one of a female who was there, and I won't even say her name, she says, I think he's a hero because I felt threatened. So that's enough. So because you feel threatened, that's enough to kill somebody. Okay. So we're playing a very dangerous game right now. And there has to be some accountability. And they're right. They're upset with our Mayor Adams and how he's approaching. Let me get all the information. Someone died, bro. Let's be real. Someone died. Okay? And you have to acknowledge that is absolute sadness. There's records, there's indication that it's clear that this person has been ill and he's on the train. And it's fact. They're putting it out there. They brought it up. It doesn't take you well, we're 4 days into the matter. It doesn't take you 4 days as the mayor to know some facts about this individual and who he is, whether he has arrest or not. We already got the history. You know the history of this kid? His father abandoned him and his mother was killed in front of him. So the tragedy of who he is, right? But you see, I'm not getting into all of that. I'm not going into the past or the neglect of children or the breakdown of a home or the lack of support or resources. What I'm looking at is you go into a train, okay? You see somebody and you decide that you're going to restrain them because he's being belligerent. And then you take his life. And we're okay with that. But that's not okay. I'm beyond livid. I'm beyond livid. And people should be upset. Here's the thing. The thing is, like, how are you going to empower yourself? And I keep saying this. And I think that, you know, one of the things I do when I'm on the train, I make sure that I'm observant about what's going around. And if something makes me comfortable, if something doesn't feel right, I come off the train or I jump to the next car. And that's really, really important. And I would say to myself, if I ever see a situation where something like that is done, I'm going to advocate. I am going to advocate. I'm going to fight. That's something that I can do. Now, it's not really my job to persecute those who were there and didn't help. See, I really don't know how all of that happened or what happened. But at some point, you have to use reason. You have to use your reasoning. And the fact of the matter is, one of the other things that we do have to consider is that this person might also be mentally ill himself. So it's really a case of unknowns. My feelings of just being upset has a lot to do with he's a regular person walking in there, maybe with a hero complex, a lot of assumptions. But if you're holding somebody in a chokehold and another person tells you that you could possibly be killing him and you don't respond to that, then you have to ask, well, then who are you dealing with? Who are you dealing with? So, what a complete mess.